Greetings, Rebel Soul. Welcome to Blue Moon Rising. It's a real honor to have you here. If you're returning to the channel, thank you for coming back again. If you're new, a really warm welcome. If you haven't hit that subscribe button already, I would really appreciate your support. And as always, if you feel the content of this channel and in this video resonates with you, or you feel it would help someone going through a process of awakening or deep transformation, or just needs some words of comfort, I would really appreciate you sharing it and liking it if you feel called to. Today I wanted to talk about the importance of giving ourselves permission to do nothing. This is something that really is quite a revolutionary act, particularly in today's Western world, of the constant rat race, of the constant need to be accumulating, to be achieving, to be progressing. We intimately associate progress with constant action. And I believe, as well as others believe, that this is completely and utterly detrimental to our soul in many ways. Action, of course, is a beautiful, sacred thing. When we are divinely inspired and we bring into fruition into the physical world, when we physically manifest ideas that are being called to be born from our soul and our heart, that is a sacred and divine process. In fact, the world itself does not exist with some form of action or materialization. The process of materialization itself is a process of action, a result of action. And we would not exist without action. But the problem becomes when action becomes the be-all and end-all. I was reminded the other day of the process of the importance of stopping, of becoming a human being rather than a human doing. And in today's Western world, that is something that we need to constantly remind ourselves of. For me personally, doing nothing, and the key word here is giving myself permission to do nothing, was without a doubt one of the most healing tools that I would say allowed myself to deeply heal from the dark night of the soul that I was going through during my spiritual awakening. The constant mental tension, the constant gripping onto the hopes of a future that would come, the constant lamentation over the past and the hurts and the wounds is something that we get stuck in. And this is why we need to press stop, press pause on that recorder that is constantly playing on that treadmill that is constantly happening, and giving ourselves permission by saying to other people and to any commitments no, by prioritizing our health, and sometimes that involves doing absolutely nothing. For me, that looked like actually entering a cocoon, a metaphysical cocoon, but an actual physical cocoon as well, by literally allowing my body to just sleep, to rest completely and utterly, to envelop myself in the darkness. And that actually looked like completely and utterly sleeping for, I would say, pretty much a month straight, because that's what my body needed at the time. I needed to really just even lock myself in the bedroom, in the house, and just sleep for days on end, to not allow myself to be out in the world. And it was a very interesting process because the darkness was my friend at that point. And that's something that we associate negatively, isn't it? We think of someone who will do that as being depressed, as needing help. And that is, of course, true, and that needs to be listened to. I was, of course, going through depression, but my solution of locking myself in my room, locking myself in my house, and actually giving myself what my body needed might not necessarily look like a conventional treatment that someone would prescribe. But in that moment, I gave myself that prescription. That was my dose. That was my pill to myself, to sleep, to cocoon myself, to embrace myself in the warmth of stillness and darkness. Even going outside, the light actually hurt my physical body and my eyes. The sensory overload was too much, and I knew without a doubt that is what my body needed. Buddhists talk about the notion of impermanence. And this really, for me, ties into the idea of doing nothing, giving ourselves permission to do nothing. I'm going to read a very short excerpt from the book that I've had for 20 years since I had my first spiritual awakening back in 1998. The book is called The Naked Buddha by Venerable Adrian Howley. Adrian says, "We do not understand impermanence. Absolutely nothing remains the same for as long as a snap of the fingers. We cannot really accept this fact, and we equate it with suffering. Although the impermanence of happy phenomena seems to us a tragedy, we fail to accept that impermanence also applies to unhappiness." And then she goes on to say that there is no actual moment of death as such, no moment that is an end. For me, in the way that I've interpreted this, is that death is not an end. Death is a momentary phenomenon, and there is no moment that is an end. That means that nothing is the be-all and end-all. So the process of ego death is absolutely essential to our healing and our awakening. Adyashanti talks about this, and I'll link the video that he recently made about it. We fear death so much, and our process of constantly wanting to act and constantly wanting to consume and be in the world is a product of our fear, of fearing our own death and our own disintegration. We cannot ever achieve a process of peace and enlightenment and healing, and I keep using the word process because it is a constant unfolding process. It doesn't ever end. By accepting our own death, by accepting our own psychic and physical death. Death is inevitable, but it's only part of the journey. Allowing ourselves to do nothing and be nothing is allowing ourselves to die. It's facing our mortality, the one thing that we fear the most, pressing pause on the action that is a product of our fear of dying. Embracing our death and coming to terms with it is one of the most powerful things that we can ever do for our healing. For me, allowing myself that time to sleep and embracing my death, embracing that I am not who I am presenting to the world. I am not my personality. I am not what I do for work. I am not who I look in the mirror. I am nothing. And by embracing that emptiness, I paradoxically found who I really am. I came out of that cocoon, rediscovering myself for the first time, looking at myself in the mirror for the first time and truly knowing who I am. I had completely and utterly lost myself in that process of acting and doing and striving and aching and wanting and desiring. by letting go of any desire, of any wanting, of any seeking, of any aching, and by doing nothing, I allowed myself to unfold into who I truly am. I allowed myself to shed my skin, the skin that no longer served, the dried out, worn out skin, and to allow myself to bloom like the bud that I knew I deserved to. So I really hope that this short video helped today. I invite you to think about what this process of doing nothing will look like for you. I invite you to think about the strength and the courage that it takes to give yourself permission to stop, and to think about what excuses that you make for yourself to stop yourself from pressing pause on that button. And remember, life is always going to be there. Death is impermanence. Life is impermanence. It is all a beautiful dance that plays together. Life will always be waiting for you. But allowing yourself to go within and stop and press pause might just be the greatest gift that you give to yourself. Peace, love and light.